So this is Powerful Reporting through IT Analytics. My name is Stu Harris, and I am the team lead for the IT Asset Management team at ITS. Just a little bit about me. I'm a Symantec Technical Specialist, authorized Symantec Consultant, and ITIL Foundation certified. And I've been focused on the Asset Management Suite, the Altiris products for the past few years. I've worked with pretty much the whole suite, with very few exceptions. And I've been with ITS since about 2006, and I've worked with Altiris products since 2001. So a little bit about ITS. We are a Symantec National Partner and a Platinum Partner. We are also Symantec Partner of the Year for 2005, 2007, and 2011. 2005, 2007 were 2 of the 4 years that the Altiris Partner of the Year was awarded, and we won that 2 of the 4 years. We're also Symantec Master Specialized Partner. We focus strictly on Symantec endpoint and security solutions. First off, just from an overview perspective of IT Analytics. The IT Analytics reports, you're going to see a lot of the same functionality that you'll see to the built-in Altiris reports. You could print the reports, you can use the Save As option, you can kick them out. Actually, you'll actually have a few more options for Save As, like you can save it as a Word document. I believe you can also output a PDF. You can output an Excel file. And you're still going to have the ability to put in parameters and access data the way you want to access it. So the IT Analytics reports are really kind of an addition onto the standard Altiris reports. The biggest thing you'll notice about the IT Analytics reports is that they look a lot different. They look a little bit prettier than the standard reports. And you can do a lot of customizations with how they look, change colors, change the way you view them. And you probably get a little bit better control over these than you would over just the standard reports. The other thing that you'll notice in contrast to the standard reports is that these run extremely quickly. So first off, the report builder, where is it? And we're going to find that under the settings button, notification server, IT Analytics settings. And over here on the left in the tree, there's a reports icon. We're going to click on that. But under this reports tab, this reports icon, you'll see a tab for report builder. And then on that report builder, there's a button for report builder. So there is one kind of concern with launching the report builder from this method, and that is that you are exposing the entire configuration of your IT Analytics information. And this may be something that if your only report builders are already system administrators, that's fine, easy to get to, don't have to do anything extra. If your users that are create reports are not Symantec administrators and you don't want them to be administrators, there's a couple other options. One is to launch a web browser, and you can launch the HTTP/the report server name. Now, that might be the same as your SQL server. It might be a different server. It depends on how it's configured. /report server, report builder, and then there's a big piece here in this URL. I'll leave this up for a couple seconds if anybody wants to jot this down. Otherwise, if anybody's interested, we can add this to the list of questions with it in there. And a third way that we can access this is there's a reporting console that's built into the SQL Server reporting services, and that you're going to access from HTTP// again the reporting server /reports. On that reports page, there is a reporting server button. But you'll see here, this is the reports screen, and I have a report builder icon, or I could go directly to the report builder. The one note about this report builder button right here is depending on what version of SQL Server you have installed, this button may launch the version 1.0 of the report builder. I'm going to work strictly with the version 2.0 report builder, and that's the other URL that I posted, the longer one. You can change the function of this report builder button by going here under Site Settings and adding that URL in the custom report builder launch URL. So again, there's multiple ways to get to it. Through the console, again, just keep in mind that could be a potential security concern depending on who the users are that are going to be accessing the report builder. If they're not administrators, maybe give them a link directly to the report builder so that they don't have to be into your settings in the console. Okay, so next section here is cubes. What is a cube? So a cube is actually a subset of your Altiris database, or any database, because it's actually this function of SQL Server reporting and analysis services. And it's sort of reorganized it's specifically created for business intelligence for data mining. So this data is basically sliced and diced and reorganized in such a way that the reports run against it are extremely quick, and they are very versatile as far as being able to build a report and how you want to lay it out. It's very user-friendly. So one of the pros, again, is there's a pro is very quick to return the data, but there's one kind of limitation, and that is that it is a limited set of data. Not everything in your entire database is going to be in a queue. And I'll give you an example of that from the asset management world. There's a lot of custom fields that we deal with. Those custom fields aren't going to be on any of your cubes. There is a way to create custom cubes. That's not something we're going to cover during this webcast, but there's some good documentation on Microsoft's website about creating custom cubes. And if you wanted to be able to create your own cubes, you can certainly do that. But again, we're not going to cover that here. So as a gap filler beyond creating custom cubes, we can also put in T-SQL or Transact SQL. That's the normal SQL reporting language. Right in, it has an IT analytics report as well as using cube data. And I'll give an example of a standard report actually put into the IT analytics framework, and kind of give an example of how you can work with that. So let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. All right, here's just a quick look at the report builder, and you can notice it's a completely separate interface than the Altiris console. So this is why it's pretty easy to give somebody access to this without having to give them the backdoor to your Altiris settings. So let's jump back and let's take a look at one of the IT analytics reports. I'm just going to grab one of the reports that I commonly see people using. And I'm going to mainly focus my demonstrations on the assets cube, but if you notice, there are quite a few other cubes to choose from that are pre-built for you. Just because I'm just using the asset cubes at this point is only because of my familiarity with them working with the asset management system. So that's why I'm going to kind of mainly use the asset cubes. So let me jump out of the cubes and let's go to a report. And I'm going to grab a report that I see people using commonly, and that's the Add Remove Program Search Report. I've been asked hundreds of times, literally, that, how do I look for a certain application, or how do I look for all my Adobe programs? This is a really nice report where you can do just that. If you want to look at, for example, Adobe, I can come up here to my parameters, type in Adobe, and then refresh the report. And that's going to limit my data down to Adobe. I'm going to just drop off that parameter and rerun the report. Get back to the original report. So again, you can still print the report directly. We can export the report, and like I said, we've got some different options for outputting the report, a little bit beyond even what we have with the Altiris reports. And then we've got, obviously, we've got 62 pages of data, so I can cycle through the pages right up here. So that's an example of an IT analytics report. We've also got some dashboards where we can look at some charts. So we've got quite a few different types of charts that we can use. You'll see I don't have 100% of data populated in this thing, so my charts look very boring, but you can get the general idea of what we've got, and I can make dashboards here that are clickable, where I can list out the data in that report, in that dashboard, directly just by clicking on it. And I'm actually going to do an example of a chart. So now let's come up here and let's look at the cubes. And again, these are subsets of your entire Altiris data. And we can actually do a little bit of a quick look at the data in a cube. As a matter of fact, if you needed to look at something really quickly, it's something maybe you just off the cuff need to look at. For example, I can look at a cube. I can create a real quick look at some of my data. I'm going to click this little Office Web Components icon, click on OK on the screen. That's going to bring up my pivot table field list. So I'm going to grab, this is something I've been asked for in the past, and it's nice to be able to just grab this quickly, is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to grab my asset type, drag it over here into the row fields, drop that there. Then I'm going to grab my status, drop that here, and then I'm going to grab my total count and drop that here. And I'm going to go ahead and just pop these guys open. Again, my data is kind of boring, but you get the general idea. So asset types of computer, I've got 24 of them that are active, 2 in stock for a total of 26. Virtual machines, I've got 11 that are active. Again, very boring data. Then it gives me a grand total down here from the bottom. And this, I don't have Excel installed on the server, but if I did, I could pop this, or if I was running it on my workstation, I could pop this into Excel, and I would have an Excel pivot table to work with right off the bat. So you can see this is really good. If you just need a quick look at how many computers do I have in stock, you could grab this. You saw that took me about 2 minutes to actually get to this data. So it's nice for a really quick look at your data. Next, let's actually look at the report builder. So again, I'm going to minimize my console here, and let's pull up the report builder. So the first kind of report I'm going to create is one built actually right out of the cubes, and I'm going to create a table. So in here, when I pick my data source, I can see that I have my IT Analytics data source right here. I'm going to go ahead and just leave that. If we don't see that, there's a Browse button. We can look in the IT Analytics folder, and there's my IT Analytics data right there. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my IT Analytics data. And again, I'm going to switch. Right now I'm in my application metering cube, and it just defaults to the highest alphabetized one on the list. I'm going to grab my assets cube, and going to make another quick report. So this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this a little bit more complicated than the last one I did. So I want to grab my asset type, just going to kind of grab that right here, drop it. I don't know if anybody, you notice on the left there's a little blue bar pops up, puts that in. Next, I'm going to open up the asset portion here. I just dragged the asset type because that's all that was in there. From the asset area, I'm going to grab my manufacturer, kind of drop it right next to there. Then I'm going to grab my model. I'm also going to grab my asset status. I'm going to open this one up. You notice there's only one option in here, so I can just grab either the whole top level or the level underneath. So I've got all this. The next thing that I want to grab is I want to grab my count. So I'm going to come down here under measures, expand that, and I'm going to grab the asset count, and I'm going to drop this over here on the right. You notice, bang, immediately I have a report. So this is good. I can see my data. Let's go next. So here's where I can kind of format this a little bit further. I'm going to make this one fairly simple. The 4 different fields I had, I'm going to create as row groups. And then I'm going to take my asset count and drop it down here in the values. And under values, you can see we've got some different options. I'm going to leave this one as a sum. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to leave this one as a count. This one as a count. The next one I'm going to do will be a sum. And I'm going to click next. So we've got some more options here. This is for the layout. So in here, I've got this option, show subtotals and grand totals. If I just leave it like this, it's going to block every single thing out. And this is going to look similar to one of the standard Altiris reports. If I do it this way, with the showing subtotals and grand totals, I've got different styles for laying these out. And I kind of like the blocked subtotal below. You can see that I've got data here with the total right below it, then the next line and the total below that. There's the same thing in reverse, subtotal above. Then there's a stepped with subtotal above. And then I have the option for expanding or collapsing groups. I'm going to go ahead and leave that so that we can see what that looks like. Now here I got some options for color, mahogany, slate, and we'll have some further options for color once we put this in there. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as this ocean color and say finish. So here's a look at my report. I can come up here and put in a title. Now I can do a little bit of formatting options. So like I talked about, we can click on these fields here, and I can change the fill color in here if I want to make this an option, kind of an obnoxious lime green to see what my grand total is. I can do that. I can change the font color. Like for example, I could change this one so you can see there's some red in here. So let's take a look, see what this actually looks like. So I pop this guy open. You can see there's my red, here's my green, and then this is that expand and collapse groups option. So I can pop this open and see exactly how many of my Dell Latitude XYZ computers, I don't know where that came from, that are active in stock, and then I can see my total. Again, same thing with my virtual machine. I can expand these guys out. And this is that expand and collapse option again that I talked about. So let's say I don't like exactly what I've got here. I can go back to the design mode, change what I need to change. I could actually even change the wording on this, reopen it. There's my subtotal. So I've got quite a bit of flexibility with this. And anybody that's familiar with creating the standard Altiris reports, some of these options, these are really nice things to do that really kind of spice up the way the report looks. And I like the functionality of being able to expand and collapse. I've had that request quite a bit in the past. Without IT Analytics, we really didn't have that kind of an option. All right, so got this the way I want it. What I need to do next is I need to save this. Right now, this is still in my report builder, and we have no way of accessing this from the Altiris console. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And up here in the look-in box, this is where we're saving. You'll notice it's a web URL. This, again, this is actually my SQL server, but this should show your SQL report server. You'll have a folder for IT Analytics, and we're going to drop it on here. Awesome, with a whole bunch of A's, so it shows up at the top of the list. And now I can close out of the report builder. So this next piece, what I need to do is actually go into the reports folder, and I need to add this in. This report has to go under the IT Analytics report. If I was to come in here just into one of the regular report folders and say new report, all I have are my standard report options. I don't have that IT Analytics report option. Where I have that is under the IT Analytics folder. So if I come down here to new, now you'll see I have IT Analytics report, and I don't have the standard report options. So let me grab my awesome report. And this parameter area initially visible is basically anywhere if I had parameters within my report, this is where I would be able to expand or contract that area just off the bat. I don't have any parameters in this one, just because I wanted to try and keep this simple just for time. So I'm going to just leave it visible. It doesn't really matter because they're really not there anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and add this report. It tells me that it was done successfully. One thing you'll notice is it does not show up on the tree immediately. There's a refresh button at the very top of the tree. And this is true for anything in the Altiris console. If you add something new on the tree, you'll have to refresh that tree to be able to get back to it. Oops. That was the wrong folder. And here is my awesome report. Just exactly like what we saw in the report builder, except that it's now in the Altiris framework. I've got my options for printing, exporting. So here, this is it. I got all my fancy green color and my little bit of red here, and my subtotals like I typed. So it looks exactly like what we had before. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to launch the report builder again. And one of the things that I had talked about was doing a report. One of the things that I talked about originally was doing a report using a standard SQL report. So I actually created but I wanted to show how this can be used with IT analytics. And this again is a way of getting around the limitations of the cubes where you only have that data to work with. So instead of using my IT analytics cube, what I'm going to do, or my data source, I'm going to create a new data source. And this is going to be my Altiris database. And it is a Microsoft SQL Server. It's going to ask me for a connection string. So this gets a little bit more on the technical side. It's really not that complicated. So when I say to build the connection, it knows it's a SQL Server. I can browse to my SQL Server. And I've only got one here in my environment. Obviously, it's the only one I have. Still takes a little while to pull this up again because of the speed of the system. But I'm going to go ahead, grab my SQL Server. Now I have a choice for what database I'm going to pull from. I'm going to grab my Symantec CMDB. You can test the connection if you're not sure it's going to work, but it does test correctly. So I'm going to save that. And there's my connection string. It has a space, doesn't like the space. So I'll take out the space, and now I have my Altiris database. You'll notice that this says only in this report. That creates what's called an embedded data source, and that's embedded within the report. So it's not reusable outside of the report. So I'm going to go ahead, jump to the next tab, and I do have the option to just click and add items. Like right here, I can add fields like this. I'm going to actually forego doing that. Instead, just again for sake of time, I've got my pre-created query. And this is something you could take if you've created custom reports within Altiris using SQL. You could just grab your SQL, pop it right in there, and go ahead and move to the next. Now I'm going to use a pie chart. This one actually lends itself really well to a pie chart showing where my assets live. So my categories is my location, then my value, this one's going to be a sum. Click next. And then again, here's my colors. Here's all the different colors. I'm going to go with just the plain old generic. And let's say finish. Add my title. My chart title is, and I don't know if this is going to run or not. It is using an embedded data source, so sometimes they do not run. What I'm going to instead do is I'm going to go ahead and just go right straight to save it. Awesome pie chart. Save that. And get rid of my report builder again. So again, what I have to do to put this into Altiris is I'm going to go up to the Reports tab, back to my IT Analytics reports, and I've got my special folder here. Come down here, New, IT Analytics Report, and I'm going to grab my awesome pie chart and add it. And I have to refresh right here. Open this guy back up, and here is my pie chart. Exactly as I laid it out. Kept this, kept my pie chart, and again I can print this, I can dump that out. If I wanted to hand out something at a meeting, for example, maybe I have a meeting with some executives, I want to hand out some real quick data, you could take a pie chart, put it all together, and then print it out as a PDF, hand it out at a meeting. This really was something really kind of simple, but it wouldn't take a whole lot to put together some of these pie charts for some of the data, especially if it's like executive level data. They're usually looking for something more summary related, and IT Analytics is really good with that, especially. So that is the end of my demonstration. Just want to thank everybody for joining. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free to shoot them our way. Thank you again very much.